Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video. I'm Shergok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at how Ainz Ooal Gown lost an entire army, including its leader, and why was this a part of his master plan all along. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly say thanks to my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's get to the topic at hand. Ainz Ooal Gown's army was annihilated, his most important general fell in battle, and his troops were cut down to the last skeleton. At first, this sounds like a fanfiction where others, perhaps even stronger guilds, have arrived in a new world, forcing Ainz Ooal Gown to defend himself desperately against an overwhelming number of opponents. What actually happened is still a defeat, as Ainz did indeed lose thousands of troops and a general he personally had created. However, all of this was part of his plan. Nevertheless, this defeat is remarkable because Ainz allowed for a completely open outcome, unlike the battle in the Great Tomb of Nezarec, where no one from the mercenaries, the so-called workers, could escape alive. And those who met their end were indeed the lucky ones, as their end also meant the end of their suffering. The first battle of the Lizard Man against Ainz Ooal Gown's undead warrior was entirely fair. There were no level 100 floor guardians yet active on the battlefield, no Doom Lords or hordes of Death Knights in the rank and file of the troops. Yet the thousands of skeletal warriors, skeletal archers, wild beasts that Ainz had reawakened after their end, and the Elder Lich leading these troops were still a formidable challenge for any army in the New World, especially considering the initial situation of the Lizardmen at the beginning of Volume 4. First, they were deeply divided politically, and the Lizardmen clan Green Claw, from which Ainz Ooal hails, and which was allied with Razortail and Small Fang, opposed the two rival clans, Yellow Speckle and Sharp Edge. So before any organized defense could be mounted, Ainz Ooal needed to convince his greatest rivaling clan to join him in this very endeavor. And Ainz Ooal Gown wanted this war and was prepared to lose an entire army to use it as a lesson for Cocytus and the rest of the Great Tomb. He too had a plan, and it was not just about winning, it was about teaching. And therefore, he sent undead heralds to announce that Ainz Ooal Gown's troop would soon invade the territory of the Lizardmen. And after Ainz Ooal successfully completed his diplomatic journey on the back of his four-headed Hydra, and managed to bring the previously hostile tribes into his grand alliance, and by the way found himself a girlfriend, it was soon time to defend his homeland. And I will just briefly touch on the battle itself here, since I've already covered it in another video, and instead focus more on the fight between Ainz Ooal and his troops against the undead Elder Lich Iguva 41. But an overview still needed to somewhat understand the situation they were in. First of all, the Lizardmen were outnumbered in an almost laughable proportion. Ainz's army consisted of thousands of undead, skeletons, zombies, light undead shock cavalry, undead beasts, skeletal archers, and again the Elder Lich Iguva 41, created from 100% recycled adventurer. In contrast, the Lizardmen were only able to muster a few dozen warriors per tribe, or in the case of Green Claw, 103 warriors for battle. Therefore, not only the proper warriors, hunters and shaman were mobilized during the war, but also the entirety of the civilian adult population to counter Ainz Ooal Gown's overwhelming superiority. The sheer mass of his warriors needed to be checked after all. For example, Ainz Ooal's tribe could only field 103 warriors, 4 druids and 7 hunters, but also added 124 male Lizardmen civilians and 105 female Lizardmen civilians to the tribal fighting force, and the numbers were similar for the other tribes. However, due to the disorganization of the enemy on the day of the battle, an opportunity arose to split the numerically superior enemy into two armies. While the basic skeletons could easily wade through the swamp due to the light weight and thin bones, the rotting flesh of the far heavier zombies got caught in the plants and the moist swamp ground, causing them to advance very slowly. And therefore there was a disbalance, and the skeletal part of the army got ahead, while the zombie part of the army was stuck to the back. And therefore the female lizard men were therefore deployed as fast skirmishers and attacked the zombies from a distance and from the flanks, slinging stones at them, and therefore luring about half of the enemy force away from the main force of the lizard men. And since the female lizard men are smaller and lighter, they are much more agile in the swamp, and therefore they were able to easily maintain their distance while staying close enough to keep the zombies pursuing them, and therefore preventing the zombies from flanking the main attack of the lizard men or reinforcing their own lines. And while the light skirmishers kept the zombies at bay, for example, Mr. Incognito mode here dealt with the proper skeleton infantry alongside the rest of his buddies. And the mental image of a 3-meter tall, over 100-kilogram lizard man in heavy armor, along with hundreds of others, charging into an infantry formation made up of thousands of skeletons and plowing through this sea of bones with stone clubs and maces, is one of my absolute highlights in the books. And while all of this was happening, Sarajusu Sasha and company were confronting the Elder Lich, who had now joined the battle, and attacked and counterattacked the force of the lizard men. And here Sarajusu and his companions faced the same problem familiar from every good, bad, mediocre and any other D&D campaign: how to deal with the damn fireball spell. Elder Liches like Iguva 41 or Davanok, who joined the Six Arms under their leader Zero, could cast dozens of fireballs, something that even the most powerful human casters found nearly impossible to do. So they had to find a way to get close enough to Iguva to engage him in melee combat, thus preventing him from casting the fireball spell. At close range, the fireball would be deadly even for an undead who casted it, since again undead are weak to fire. And the answer to all of this came at the cost of a great sacrifice. 5 elite warriors fell in the process. And then the 4-headed Hydra from the tribe charged frontally towards Iguva, and the Hydra caught one fireball after another, but just before the last head fell, Crush Lulu healed the Hydra again, and the distance to Iguva was bridged when the 3 warriors, Zemburu Gugu, Crush Lulu, and Sarajusu Sasha, dismounted. However, Iguva still had an ace up his sleeve, confronted with 3 strong lizardman warriors, and seemingly at a disadvantage, Iguva used a summoning spell to call forth skeletal warriors. Proper skeletal warriors, because these were stronger than normal skeletons and way better armed, and they are usually level 4 summoning, but Ainz can summon them with just the 3rd tier of magic. And these skeletal warriors held back Crush Lulu and Zenburu Gugu, who has the most exercised arm in the Lizardman's and his own brother's history, while Sarajusu finally engaged Iguva in close combat. And after a tough struggle, and after using Frostpane's special ability against the Elder Lich and against himself, Sarajusu managed to eliminate Iguva 41 with his last ounce of strength, thus inflicting irreparable damage to the command structure of this undead army. After Lizardman's heavy infantry defeated the skeletons and skeletal archers, after the magical swamp avatars eliminated the undead beasts, and after the skirmishers severely damaged and decimated the zombies, and with the Elder Lich, Iguva and the commander no longer present, the battle was essentially over. The only task remaining was to eliminate the rest of the troops with the full remaining force of the Lizardmen. And so, Sarajusu's adoption of the Hydra, the bonds he forged between the previously hostile Lizardmen tribes, and the camaraderie that grew from it, saved the day and eliminated the dark enemy of the undead Sorcerer King, instead of being defeated, only to be revived by Ainz Ooal Gown and then become part of his undead army. They won and they remained free. At least until Ainz decided to get serious. This might honestly be the only time in Overlord where the power of friendship and love actually accomplished something, as opposed to when Ainz took away all hope of victory from Climb during their final duel. And generally Asha and her companions weren't exactly blessed with luck either. The reason Ainz Ooal Gown was willing to lose so many warriors was also partially because they were his summons and not the valuable NPCs of the Grey Tomb, but also because he wanted to see how the undead would perform when left to their own devices, and what problems these undead hordes might actually encounter. It was a safe environment where Ainz had nothing to lose, allowing him to test what mistakes his army might make, and then learn from it. For example, the difference in movement speed between zombies and skeletons, how zombies would blindly chase after the skirmisher units, how the cavalry and the skeleton infantry would fare against stronger units, how the archers would perform when firing into the melee battle, because skeletons take very little damage from arrows, since this is piercing damage, but the tough hide of the lizardmen could not withstand them easily, and how the wave tactic of the undead beasts would work. Ainz, who had only been in the New World for a few weeks by the events of Volume 4, needed to clarify and discover all of this, before later this might actually hurt him, and destroy a huge part of his valuable forces, the forces made up of the NPCs of the Great Tomb. Additionally, Ainz wanted Cocytus and the others to come up with the ideas on their own, to become aware of themselves and their range of actions, and their ability to develop. So the undead lizardmen were more of a bonus, and by no means worth ignoring Cocytus' desire to spare them, because he admired their courage, since this was important character development and it was encouraged by Ainz Ooal Gown. And so Ainz was pleased with the autonomy Cocytus displayed here, and would certainly not punish him by disregarding his wishes, as it represented a very positive character development from Ainz Ooal Gown's own point of view. And with that said, now it's your turn. What do you think of the Lizardmen battle against the Sorcerer King's army and Iguva's fight against Sarayusu Shasha and his group? Let me know it in the comment. Do you have the same arm as Senpero Gugu? Also let me know this in the comment. And while you're typing, I say thank you very much for watching. Thank you to my Patreons for supporting this channel. And as usual, special thanks to Ada Daddy Ada, ASK, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Bezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dan Pep, Dragonlord Placido Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch V. Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Loverazer, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantum, Personage, Ruru, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Kune Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Sir Axolotl, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rock Ed Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Zinukai, and Sonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.